the past couple of months, Donald Trump has said a number of crude and gross remarks about Zohran Mamdani, which is why I think a lot of people, including myself, was very shocked to see that in person, when Donald Trump met Zohran, he seemed to actually like him. And I mean, really, 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 really like him. Did not expect that exchange. In fact, as you'll see, this is the infamous picture that is circulating around on the internets today, which is this picture of Donald Trump looking up, gazing up at Zohran Mamdani, just smiling at him as if he is in such awe. This does not look like the same man who called him radical, who said, oh no, the radical leftist Zohran, said all these things about him before he won. It's almost as if these are two different people. So what is this really about, folks? We're going to break this down today. 2025 has been a crazy year. We just covered the news from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I covered that late last night that she is resigning. And this is just all really weird. It's like Donald Trump called Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor, but wait till you hear all these good things that he has to say about Zohran, who's not a member of his own party. So I'm going to break this down with you folks. I'm going to tell you a couple of things I think are happening here, as well as a warning. I am seeing some leftists online basically clapping and saying, this is great. Look at Trump, da-da-da. And I don't want people to forget that this is still Donald Trump. This is still the same guy who is right now sending weapons to Israel. Israel is still killing people in Gaza. Like, let's not forget that. This is still the same guy that's doing the ICE raids. This is still the same guy, you know, that's been coming after a lot of things that people on the left have been fighting for. So just keep that in mind. Let's people try not to get swept up in what all of this is, because Donald Trump can change like that at a dime. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of this. Here's what happened right before this conversation between Zohran and Trump. And this is another thing why we say Hakeem Jeffries got to go. Hakeem Jeffries just voted to condemn socialism, not the genocide in Gaza, not the unconstitutional ICE raids, not his colleague who is texting with Epstein during the congressional hearing. Fucking socialism. Now is exactly the time to primary Hakeem Jeffries. Shout out to Professor Zinkus there. A number of people are criticizing this. Yes, he is one of the Democrats that voted along with Republicans. You can see, of course, Ted Lieu, who never really stood for anything anyway. Pete Aguilar, Catherine Clark here from Massachusetts. You see what I'm saying? So these are some of the ones that voted along with the Republicans to condemn socialism. Hakeem Jeffries made this vote right before Zohran's meeting with Trump. After Zohran went to New York City DSA and told them not to support or endorse a primary to Hakeem Jeffries, this is how he responds. And that's why I said Hakeem's got to go. Hakeem has got to go. So no, Hakeem Jeffries is not there for the goals that people want on the left. He's not. He's more willing to vote along with Republicans to stop the left. He is part of the ratchet effect. So I think people need to get all on board with that. Hakeem has got to go. And what's also interesting is that at the same time, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer apparently were the ones that met with Zohran right before this meeting with Donald Trump to give him advice on how to speak to Trump. Yeah, Chuck Schumer, who has capitulated to Trump twice this year already. They're giving Zohran advice on how to speak to him. And then, of course, after doing this vote. So there's some trickery going on here, folks. There's some screwery that's happening. But listen to this.
In just hours, a highly anticipated meeting that could bring high drama to the White House. We may only hear about it, but never see it. President Trump will host New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani at the White House this afternoon. And this morning, we're learning about Mamdani's preparation for this high-stakes meeting by calling on some high-profile Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer for advice on how to best communicate with President Trump. The president has been repeatedly insulting Mamdani, threatening to withhold federal funds from New York and referring to him as a communist over and over again, which he is not. Still, Mamdani has said he wants to talk to the president and focus on ways that he can help New Yorkers.
So, Zohran, some people aren't happy that he even had this meeting with Trump, but New York City does receive quite a bit of federal funding from the president of the United States. They receive a lot of funding from the federal government. That's why he wanted to have this conversation to see if Trump could help him accomplish his agenda for the working class in New York City. Like, look, guys, I don't know. I feel like I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone. I really do. I thought 2025 was going to be live. That's what I told you at the very beginning of the year, but I didn't realize it would be this crazy. There's a lot of bizarre things that are happening, right? Like, watch this. One of the things that Zohran said during this discussion with the press right next to Donald Trump is he did say Israel's committing a genocide, which obviously, if you've been following Zohran, that's not new, right? Like, he's been calling that out. But what was interesting here is he said it right next to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump does not push back. Watch this.
Mr. Mamdani, you accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do. I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights. And I know that still today, those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Why couldn't Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer say that to Donald Trump when they met with him? Right? Because they're all taking money from AIPAC. Zohran is not taking money from AIPAC or Kufi, right? Donald Trump doesn't push back. All of this big talk that Donald Trump had online, as much as he's praised Israel, all this money he's taken from Miriam Adelson, including money from Miriam Adelson right now to primary Thomas Massie and to get him out of there. Donald Trump does not push back when Zohran says Israel's committing a genocide. It was just, it was really weird. I'm shocked by a lot of this. I don't really know what to make of some of it, but I'll tell you a little bit later on. He also goes on to say that he was happy that some of his supporters voted for Zohran. Listen to this.
I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East. I think
we desperately want it, and that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road, I asked them why. I heard again and again two major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
You said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm
1 in 10.
And I'm okay with that.
What is happening here? Like, seriously, like, Trump seems to like Zohran. He said he's okay with some of his voters voting for Zohran. What is going on? Hello? This is very, very, very shocking. Now, I will say this again, some people are looking at this and they're saying, see, it's all about top versus bottom, etc. And yeah, this is true. We do have to focus a lot on top versus bottom. But still, let's not forget, Trump is still the one who is giving Israel weapons right now. Like, if Trump really wanted peace in the Middle East, he could stop that right now. All you have to do is cut off the weapons to Israel, because without our weapons, what do they do? So it gets crazier, folks. Like, let's go on a little bit more here. We're going to go to other segments of this conversation as well, including right here in the very beginning. Again, watch Donald Trump's expression.
Just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people. starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat him easily. And I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. And we've got them down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And
so this sounds like a completely different person than the person that was speaking about Zohran before he won earlier. Sounds like a completely different person. It almost seems as though Donald Trump likes a winner, right? I was talking to a friend of the show, Roger Meadows, about this, and Roger Meadows said that he said, you got to remember Trump is a Queens guy. He said they're both in Queens. He's like, so Trump is a Queens guy. He said a lot of times the guys from Queens, they like to talk a lot of stuff, but when it comes down to it, when you come face to face, it can just kind of be like, oh, okay. You know, sometimes it could be done just to kind of scare you, right? So maybe some of the things that Trump was saying about Zohran earlier on, like, oh, you better not win or otherwise I'm going to do this. It's a fear tactic to make you scared. But once Zohran won, I mean, there's no overturning that. So it's like you're going to have to find a way to work with him in some way, shape, or form. However, I did not expect a love fest here among the two. I did not expect that. Now, some people are upset and they said that Zohran should have been more, I guess, aggressive towards Donald Trump, not as friendly with him. He's a politician. I don't expect him to go into the White House and talk to Donald Trump like he's some dude out on the street and say, yo, let's go. Let's go. I do not expect that to happen. And I think anybody who's a politician or trying to be a politician that's telling you that that's what they would, I don't think these people are telling the truth. So I don't expect him to go in like that against the president of the United States. But I will say, I want to know what the conversation was behind the scenes that made it get to this point where they are both so friendly with each other in this manner. That's something that I would ask. It's really weird. I thought that this conversation was going to be rather tense, just like the conversation between Trump and Zelensky, not last time, but the time before when he came to the White House and Trump told him, you don't have any cards. I expected a tense conversation between the two, but that is not what is happening here at all. And that brings up another question that people need to ask. You know, where is Zohran in all of this? Like, why is he, having this type of energy here with Donald Trump, right? Why so friendly? And some may say, well, he's trying to get things accomplished for his agenda in New York City. So maybe he's talking to him that way so that he can get those things accomplished. And, that's true, too. But like when you were campaigning, it seemed like you were going to take the gloves off, like I'm going to really go after Donald Trump and et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like it's just all a game. This is what I said before about politics. Like when people are running, it's like there's this certain type of energy that they have to get elected. That's Trump and that's Zohran. That's all politicians. But once they're in office, I feel like a lot of them follow a more professional style of protocol. And no, he's not going to go after the president in that way, shape, or form in person. But I would definitely like to know what that conversation was behind the scenes before this press conference here.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Trump supporters are not going to like this. Like Trump is nicer to Zohran than he is to Marjorie Taylor Greene. at this moment. We all know what just happened with MTG. So that's why I pause. I'm like, he is nicer to him, who is someone who's not a member of his own party, than he is towards Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a member of his own party. Marjorie Taylor Greene said some of the similar things that Zohran's saying. Stop sending the money to Israel. We got to talk about the economic issues. He publicly attacked her, so she publicly attacked him back. And now Zohran's right there standing next to him, and Donald Trump is all smiles, like love spaz. Oh, I love this guy. Get a load of this guy. I like him. We need to ask questions, guys. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but we need to ask questions like what happened in private before this press conference, right? And it just makes me wonder. It just makes me wonder. Let's go on a little bit more.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for Mayor-elect.
Sure.
For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Can you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot from when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first.
Pause. Did everybody hear that part right there where Trump said he's going to change? So see, listen to the way that he's talking about Zohran now. He's like, well, he's got some views that are kind of out there. But before he won, it was like this communist, jihadist. We're not going to allow this guy to win. You win, I won't give any money to your city. All these threats, all this fear mongering. But now it's just like, oh, he's got some views that are kind of out there, but you know, it's just and so, but listen to what he just said. He's like, he's going to change. He's going to change just like I change. Because Donald Trump knows how the political game is. Zohran's just learning that, like, this is his first political, well, no, he was assemblyman, but his first time being like mayor. So he's going to see this too. Donald Trump is letting you know that he is going to change. He's telling you Zohran's going to change because not necessarily because he may want to, but because of the game and the system that is in place. That's what I would say. So he's talking about when he first came into office.
Term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on something. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually. And some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
Did you guys so that part right there is important, that he might surprise some conservative people. And Donald Trump tells you that he's not going to say what they talked about, I guess, behind the scenes. What does that tell you? So that's something that people need to take that feather, like, or take that card and put it in your back pocket and hold on to that and remember that. So why would Zohran surprise some conservatives? Why would his policies surprise some conservatives if he's keeping that same agenda? And Trump told you that he's not going to tell you what they talked about. And that makes me wonder, because some people have been asking about ICE and all of that, like that Zohran didn't want ICE to come into New York City. Trump also told you that they did not talk about him arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. So these are all things to hold on to, folks. Again, not trying to be Debbie Downer, but just pay attention to what's happening.
Mamdani, it sounds like you've had a productive discussion, but just days ago, you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you would be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views. And what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers.
That's the part that people need to take home, right? That they didn't focus on areas where they had disagreement. they focused on the areas where they did agree. So that's important to note. The guy was basically asking him about his comments about Trump being a fascist.
And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. But maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
See again, hold up. See again, he said, I think he will change his mind after we get to working together. So Donald Trump continues to assert that Zohran is going to change on some of these items that he has on his agenda. He's letting people know this now. So just keep that in mind.
Good.
I would like to ask you a question about the Middle East regarding you did said that Hezbollah in Lebanon is not in a good position. And Lebanon now is the final unresolved after Gaza and Syria. Given your assessment, like what you say for the Lebanese today, it's the independent state in Lebanon. And what is your next move to push toward disarmament?
Sure. Well, we are pushing for total disarmament of Hamas and, frankly, everybody else. And we actually have peace in the Middle East. As you know, the King of Saudi Arabia just left yesterday. We had some great meetings, and he's made a contribution toward the United States of more than $1 trillion. We have now over $20 trillion coming in. No country has ever had anything like that. Not even.
No, we do not have peace in the Middle East. We don't have that. Zohran, he's not going to interrupt because his press conference, etc. But I would have followed up with that by saying there is no peace in the Middle East.
And close. If you go to 2 trillion or 1 trillion, it's a lot. We have 20 or 21 trillion dollars. I think that Hezbollah has been a problem, and Lebanon, big problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East, and we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it, and I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
So again, we do not have peace in the Middle East. So I'm sorry, I cannot say that enough.
Oh, sure. Oh, I would do that. Absolutely. And if the mayor would like to be here for that meeting, because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East.
We desperately want it. And that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November.
Okay, and we already saw that part. Let's fast forward a little bit more here.
And I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out, maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
Yeah, 2 questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, from BBC in a second. But first of all, to the mayor-elect. You're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though. And I just wondered to what extent, with the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media, inspired any parts of your campaign?
Well,
So they're talking about populism and social media campaign style.
I actually told the president that, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about, as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focused on that same cost of living. And that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices, because, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. and we're going to have to talk to them. You know, if we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering the rates.
Absolutely.
And if I may, last week you told me you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue BBC for up to $5 billion. You're going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates on those issues?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with.
And to get into the UK, let's go forward a little bit more here.
And focusing.
Socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify that your answer.
Again, notice Trump is just sitting there like a bump on the log, doesn't push back on the democratic socialism. So what does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? It tells you that at the end of the day, politics is a game. And there's a board and there are different pieces on the board, maybe Monopoly, maybe checkers, maybe chess, but it's a game. And that game, for a lot of people, they want to win that game. A lot of these politicians, they want to win that game. And in order to win, they have to come up with different strategies so that they can beat, their opponent or provide for their constituents. So this is it's all a game. All the fear mongering, all the rhetoric about socialism, democratic socialism, et cetera, and all this types of stuff. Is this just a part of the process? That's the entertainment part. And then now you see, like, once they're together in person, very, very different. Now, again, I cannot stress enough. I think people really need to pay attention to the fact that Trump said that he is going to change. And that doesn't necessarily mean that Trump's going to make him change. That could be part of it. But the other part of it could be the fact that Trump has been in politics now for his second presidential term. And he went through that and he said, yeah, he's going to change. I changed. I had to go through. So don't forget that, people. Don't forget that at the end of the day, they're still politicians.
To Stephen Nelson, he asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes. Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Everybody see that? Like, they're like old bros, old pals. Donald Trump just told Zohran Mamdani, he's like, listen, it's okay. You can just say it. They were asking him, like, you called Donald Trump a fascist. And he said, it's okay. You can just go ahead and just say yes. And this is just bizarre. It's really bizarre to me. So it seems like at the end of the day, they found a way to, I guess, agree on the affordability issue. But where I get worried is the fact that people, it's like on social media, people are forgetting that this is Donald Trump. Like, people are forgetting, it's like, this is the guy who's still letting Israel bomb kids and kill kids in Gaza and starve kids in Gaza. This is the same person. This is the same guy who's bombing people in the Caribbean, these little boats in the Caribbean, and claiming that they're coming from Venezuela when they're not. This is the same guy trying to wage, some type of war against the people in Venezuela now because he wants their oil, because they have the most oil. This is the same person. This is the same guy that just said he wants to crush Hezbollah. Hezbollah is an elected government in Lebanon. So I just don't want people to forget that. And I got concerned yesterday on social media because I did feel like it seemed like people on the left were kind of going out of their way to use this to redeem Donald Trump. So we can't forget who Trump is, what he's doing, and especially what has been happening, his presidency. Here's something else weird that came from this. This is crazy. Trump rejects his ally Elise Stefanik's description of Zohran as a jihadist. He is actually a really rational person, Trump said. So Elise Stefanik is running for governor against Kathy Hochul in New York. And yes, she's running as a Republican. I don't think Elise Stefanik's going to win, but she's running against her. And she is very, very Islamophobic, probably one of the more vile people, her and Randy Fine, to be exact. And Donald Trump is now pushing back on her. And this is another thing that gives me pause. Why is Donald Trump so giddy and warmy with Zohran all of a sudden? All right. So people just need to hold on to those things. Like, just think about these things for a second. Look at the photo dump. He's doing a photo dump on Truth Social. Like, he loves Zohran now. It was a great honor meeting Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City. I'm trying to make sure I pronounce his name correctly. A number of people told me it's Mamdani, Sabrina. Okay. Here's another one here. He took a picture with Zohran right next to the portrait of FDR. What is this? That's what I'm saying. Like, is it weird for Zohran to want to take a picture next to that portrait? No. But Donald Trump is there. Donald Trump is like, yay, FDR. Yay, FDR and Zohran. This is something we're used to seeing with the Democratic Socialist side, right? And then here's another one. Like, I just can't, I don't know, you guys. But yeah, he went on Truth Social and did a photo dump. Aramate said, my takeaway from this meeting is that Zohran is an exceptional politician and Chuck Schumer is not. Damn. Yeah, I guess this is another example that shows that Chuck Schumer is not a good leader. That is one thing to think about. Again, I still like the conversations that were had in private that Trump wouldn't tell us about. Hold on to that. Ryan Grimm said Trump and Zohran given the country a vision of what bottom versus top rather than left versus right politics could look like is, if not historic, a genuinely novel development. Yeah. And I get it, but I just don't want people to forget who Donald Trump is. And that's why I got a little concerned yesterday, because I felt like all of a sudden I was seeing people on the left redeeming Donald Trump. And we can't forget what's still happening under his leadership. So let's not forget that. What's interesting about this whole conversation is to say this. All that talking smack online, and when they actually met in person, very different conversations. So I think this just goes to show you again the game of politics and how it's played. And one of the things I will say is that Trump probably looks at Zohran as though, okay, this guy, for the most part, stuck to his agenda, stuck to the rhetoric he had. He wavered on a couple of things, but not most of them. And he still won. And not only did he win, but it wasn't even close. Like he destroyed Andrew Cuomo. And he didn't change his position on BDS. And he didn't change his position on the community-owned grocery stores, community-run grocery stores. He didn't change. Now, he did push back on globalize the Intifada. He did cave on that. He did cave on the police commissioner. He did cave on what he had said about the NYPD, that they were racist, which I said he shouldn't have done that because they are. He did cave on those things, but most of his agenda he didn't. And he ran on BDS and he still won. And so maybe Donald Trump looks at Zohran and he's just like, hey, this guy might be going places. Maybe Donald Trump just likes a winner. I don't know. But just don't fall back asleep, guys. Like, don't forget what is happening under Donald Trump right now. That's all I ask. But interesting turn. A love fest between Zohran and Trump. Wow. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.